What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Caster Roundtable. I'm Aggro. I used to do this a lot, but now I'm washed up. Don't know what I'm doing whatsoever, and we're just going to kind of make it up as we go. I'm joined by the casting team. I would introduce them, but if you've been watching it all today, like it's all been you guys today, right? So yeah,
yes.
I don't really need to. Let's talk a little bit about casting, shall we? Why do you look scared, Mifflin? I don't know.
Because he doesn't know how to cast.
Now, can I say?
He doesn't know what casting is.
I just walked in after, you guys have been doing this. I haven't been able to watch today. I've been doing other work and all that kind of stuff. And I can tell that something.
Between Miff and I?
He got you today, didn't he?
No, this is just my natural state of being.
Oh, all the time now. This used to be the tone of voice that Dave would use.
It's every day.
If Miff really pushed it, on a day.
No, actually, today Miff has done nothing to
I
me.
distinctly remember, I hate you. 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, what was that for, though?
That's
It was during the mic
I
checks.
may have called the mics
Huntsman.
something that they weren't.
He called them huntsmen.
That's right. That's
What
right.
are they?
They're countrymen.
Huntsman.
And now you all understand.
and now immediately the curtain.
But yeah,
has
that
been
is
pulled
literally
back.
every day.
I understand. Let's start at the very beginning, shall we? Not of Mifflin and
good place
Dave,
to start.
but just in general on how everyone kind of got
reference.
into casting, I suppose. J-Mac, let's start with you.
Do-re-mi.
How did you first get into wanting to cast?
So for me, I had been watching a lot of the Smite esports already up to this point. I'd seen all of Season 1. I was watching Season 2, got to attend the first World Championships. And I think it was around Season 3 that I started to get an interest in it. Came to the World Championships again, thought, man, this is really cool. I want to do this one day. Approached a couple of the cast at the time, asked them, hey, what does it take to do this? A lot of them were like, oh, you just need to get some practice going in, jump in, talk about your ranked games, find some community league that needs a caster to do it. So I ended up finding the collegiate league that was starting at that exact, not even a week and a half after Worlds ended. There was an ad on Reddit for the AVGL collegiate league at the time. I contacted Victor, who was the CEO of the AVGL. Great guy. I've gotten to work with him over the last 5 or so years that I did collegiate stuff, and said, hey, I want to maybe commentate your league. And this is me literally not having a single game cast at all.
Sure.
And he said, okay, well, what do you got so far? So I called up my buddy Bryce and I said, hey, I need some casting reels real quick. Can you jump in a ranked game with me? So we watched Lassus play ranked for 2 or 3 games.
Probably
did
bangers.
some commentary, sent him a little reel, said, yeah, this is good. Ended up not only commentating, but also doing admin, production, and literally pretty much everything with that league for the first season. It then took off, and from that point, I did AVGL for, I think it was 5 semesters worth straight, so 2.5 years.
Sure.
Then did NACE for 2 semesters as well, 1 more season of AVGL before eventually getting to do SCC when it was Hindu Man who approached me and said, hey, we want to start the SCC back with an actual team. Pull it out of studio, bring it, to a trusted team of people. Do you want to take over onto this? This is when I was still trying to get here. I think that's actually the same year that Mifflin got hired on. So I jumped into the SCC, took the lead on there, took the reins, brought in a team of people there, worked that for it was about 1.5 years or so, and then eventually ended up landing here.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Dave, I know your story pretty well.
Yeah, my story is a long,
It's a fun
windy
one.
tale. I'll condense it down because it can get really granular. One of our mutual friends, Pretty Hair, who used to work here, I'm best buds with his younger brother. We all went to the University of Georgia. We all went out one night. Had some waters, and my apartment was really close to downtown, and we all went back. There's something in it. I don't really know how to describe it.
Was strong.
It was really strong water.
A little spicy.
And my roommates loved playing Super Smash, and they put it up on this big projector screen we had in our apartment. And I was always the type that was really bad, and so I just liked watching them play.
Sure.
Pretty Hair came back and hung out with us one night, and it kind of became a thing that I was just the loud dude. And so while my friends were playing, I would I didn't know what I was talking about, but I would kind of yell about the game.
Sure.
And I guess that night kind of stuck in Pretty Hair's head. He sort of moved up the ranks of the company. They needed someone to come cast Paladins who was local and available and close and cheap. And so they
really selling yourself
right?
here.
Yeah, for you, yeah.
Well, look, I had no experience. I was coding at Home Depot or something at the time. And he was like, hey, I kind of remember this dude being kind of good while not really knowing what to do. And so I came in, practiced with him a bit, did Paladins for a year, and now 4 years of Smite as that team went under some transition. So good old-fashioned Athens, Georgia downtown night
With some spicy water.
with some spicy water put me in the position I am today.
And the rest, as they say?
I think
It's
the
history.
moral of the story is stay hydrated.
That's
Stay
right.
hydrated. That's right.
Very
At all
hydrated.
times. Yeah, I'll drink to that. Yeah, actually, give me. I'm going to ask you your question
Okay.
after I stay hydrated.
Did you bring spicy water?
You're legally not allowed to ask me that. Gore, how did you get into casting, Gore?
So kind of like J-Mac, I'd been watching SMITEPro. Like I went to the launch tournament and stuff. Watched season 1 of the Pro League when it started up. And then when I'd graduated with a Bachelor of Science and what the hell is it? Computer Science. That's what my degree is. Ooh, big guy. And I'd always wanted to work on games. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the launch tournament. I'm going to go to the World Championship. I'm going to like mingle. Didn't end up doing any of that, by the way. Just watch the games. But while I was at that first World Championship, there in the Cobb, the doors open up, right? And there's the theater seating that goes all the way down. By the way, if you ever go see the Nutcracker, center stage right up at the front, really, really good seats. But
That's what you get from watching the caster roundtable.
Yeah.
Real pro tips right there.
the left doors into the auditorium, when you came in, that back row led right to the stage where the casters were at. And so I just started sitting there because it was super far back, so nobody was going back there for some reason.
Yep.
So it always had a seat, always guaranteed. And then after like the week, like as the weekend went on, I was like, they look like they're having a lot of fun. Like I'm really enjoying. Like, cool, they're playing Smite. Like the plays are happening. I was like, but that's bringing me into it. And after that ended that week, I went home and I was like, I want to try this. I cast one of Katie's silver ranked games for like 48 minutes. It's still on my YouTube channel if you want to try and find it.
I do want to try and find that.
It is literally just me and like the beginning of 2015. No clue what I'm doing and going for it. And then I did that like for 6 months, and then they did that So You Think You Can Cast thing.
That's right.
That Hindu had hosted. And I think I was originally brought on as one of those, okay, we can get rid of this guy early, and then like Husey and Fats and et cetera can go on. And then I distinctly remember, I think they had like a golden buzzer, and they were like, we were going to hit it, but we literally didn't think anybody was going to deserve it, so they didn't make anything for it. And so I was going to be buzzed in, and I got like third or something behind Fats and Husey, but that was fun. And then Hindu just remembered my name. Years later, I was like, hey man, I really want to make this a career. Do you think I can do that? And he said, no, we're not going to hire you. And then 2 months later, he called me and asked if I wanted to job.
You were doing AVGL with me at the time, and you just asked me, and you're like, hey, so I can't do AVGL the rest of the season. I said, oh, what's up? He said, I'm kind of being hired right now. And I went,
I was at Katie's parents' house in New Jersey for like, I'd been there for like 2 weeks because I had graduated that spring. I had nothing going on. I'd applied to like 200 jobs or something. Like I'd been sitting, and so literally my day while I was there was wake up, go downstairs, open up my laptop, send out a swath of applications, close it down when I got dejected, then come back to it later, and then I got a call, and I was like, cool, I don't have to do this anymore.
Nice. Yeah, that, and I'm sure that was not the call you were expecting to get out of all those applications.
In fact, I think I missed the first one, and when I answered the second time, he said, all right, when you see my number, you need to answer your phone.
That's true. Yeah, if that's what you're looking for. That's a very cool story. Charlie, how about for you?
Yeah, I'm a firm belief that this wasn't my idea. I think Hindu incepted me like years ago. I was hosting a Joust tournament like on my stream, and I was like, I have no one to talk over these games, so like I'll just do it. So I was kind of casting, doing a lot of what is now called Chair 1, but I didn't know that. And Hindu was in chat. I saw this little purple check mark pop up, and he said, oh, this casting like Pog, and I was like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah,
so I was like,
is it bad?
I was thinking about it, and we like finished the tournament, and I was kind of just like, what do you mean by that? You know? So I just went on with my life. Maybe 8 months later, the community team that cast the SEC, or probably SOC at the time, but now SEC, was like, hey, we're looking for someone to fill this slot. So they had a little application. So I'm like, Hindu once said my casting was Pog. I'll just fill it out. So I filled it out, and within 30 minutes, Hindu DM'd me and said, hey, just so you know, someone's impersonating you. They tried to apply to be a caster. And I'm like, I was like, that was me. And he said, well, you know, I won't quote exactly what he said, but he said, why the F didn't you just DM me? And I said, I didn't know we were friends. And he said, just so you know, if I follow you, it's because it's for a reason. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that was me. And he said, within maybe 2 days, he's like, all right, let's see what you got. And he made Dave get in a Discord call with me. Never talked to him before in my life.
That's right.
never casted before except for that one time. And he just said, Dave was like, all right, go find a game. Let's do it. And I'm like, do what? And he was like, we pretty much went to like an old, I think it was Leviathan's game. Yeah. Dave goes, all right, we're doing a pretend cast here. I got Trelly Relly with me. Trelly, what's up? And I'm like, that man started Bloodforge. And I just like dove in. It was so bad. I remember
the first you did
one.
Fine.
No, Dave gave me tips. He's like, okay, so let's go a little slower this time. The second one, the second one that I sent, I feel was much better, but we had to send both. And I was like, hey, Hindu, here's what we did. Don't watch the first one. Hope to hear something back from you. And yeah, he was like, yeah, so the second one was a lot better. You definitely took some advice. You were doing a lot of chair one. We're going to talk about what that means, but you know, we'll start you at the community league and we'll see what you got, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I did it for maybe 2 months, and then he was like, hey, there might be a spot opening up for you. Are you able to move to Georgia? Was kind of the vibe. And I was like, I got to talk to my girlfriend at the time, now fiance. And I was like, hey, could we move to Georgia? And she was like, maybe? Like, and so, yeah, we did.
That is a fun conversation to have with your girlfriend into fiance, because that's the exact situation that I was in. And that was a conversation that we had. Miff, how about for you?
Well, I feel like I had a bit more of the traditional journey, right? It was SMITEPro to SCL to wash up to SEC, the caster pipeline, the very standard. But I remember all throughout my competitive career, my fellow players at LANs would say, hey, do you ever think you're going to be cast? Because if you ever played with me or if you were around when comms were a bit more open back then, I was the loudest guy there.
Verbose.
Very verbose, I think some rule changes maybe happened because I was a bit too direct in my commentary.
I will back that up.
Yeah.
I'll back that up.
So people had said to me, look, you might not be able to play, which at the time I was like, okay, guys, like I'm still competing, like I don't want to cast, but I'd always said no, I'm not interested in casting. It's not something I want to do. I remember I was given a good reason for it because you and I have been friends for a long time, Aggro, and around the time you got hired was when that question was posed to me very frequently. I said, I'll never work for Aggro. That's never going to happen, ever. And yeah, it did eventually happen.
I wasn't really your boss at any point.
No, but you handled the schedule, and that was enough to irk me.
Fair, yeah, that is true.
The direct pipeline was at this time I was working at Nissan headquarters, which is hosted out of Franklin, Tennessee. Shouts the president at the time, he was in a Japanese jail, so Jose Valls, acting president, I used to use his toilet because I was a mailman at that facility.
Shout-outs, I guess.
Okay. But essentially it's just a warehouse work, and John Finch, rest in peace, he had said to me, you are too smart to be moving boxes for a living. It is a disgrace and a waste of your talent. And at the time I'm like, yeah, but like, is it going to pay more? And it did. So I sent in an official application, heard absolutely nothing back for a couple of weeks. Finch told me he was championing my cause at the time to the casting team, like, hey guys, like this guy, he can do it. Still hear nothing. I wait 2 weeks. And then eventually I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take it in my own hands. I'm not going to take the passive role. And I DM'd Hindu Man. He said, should have started with the DM, lad.
That's what I'm saying. That's what he just said.
Yep. Hindu moves in silence. He's a big Game of Thrones.
He is.
But
He
that's
really
a bad
is.
example because he told you both to start with a DM. I DM'd him and got told no.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like
He's got your answer.
It's kind of similar with me, Gore, because every time we had a collegiate event, I came out and I cast once with Aggro. Mostly I cast with Tully. He was like my collegiate partner in crime.
Yep.
And every single time I came out to an event, I got the same question from Hindu and a couple others. Do you think that you want to do this for a career? I said, yeah. And they said, all right, keep going at it. Have fun, like keep grinding. Maybe one day. And every year, 6 months to a year, I'd DM Hindu or somebody was like, hey, got any openings?
What's up? Yeah.
He'd be like, no, we got nothing right now. No, we got nothing right now. And it did that for like 3-4 years. And then it was just, hey, we have a spot open.
Yeah.
You want to jump in?
Hindu moves in silence.
Aggro,
He really is Game of Thrones.
I can't help but notice
personified.
you've got like a lot of things written down, and we talk a lot.
Yeah, so whenever
So
I
did
used
you
to do
prepare
this-
for like a 3 hour?
No, we got Smite the Devs. Oh my God, we have
literally
so
have, like,
little
20
time.
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're speeding this up.
shut
here,
up,
fellas.
guys. Okay,
We're
a little less casters. So I should have known that I did not need this many questions. Okay, let's just go with some
That's
of
a
my
good
favorites
first question.
then. I want to know what are some of the things that you've had to work on. What are some things that in caster review or maybe in small cases. Why are you laughing, Dave?
I know, it's not even about him. He's thinking about Myth, dude.
Really? What makes you say that, Mr. Gormizer? Myth, let's start with you
I
then.
would never.
What are some things that you've had to work on throughout your career?
I mean, I find that caster view with the group does not necessarily.
Short answer again?
Yeah, it does not work with me.
Okay.
How I approach casting, first and foremost, is about entertainment. Whereas the system in place here is very rigid, where there are certain roles that are expected to be filled. You want your analysts breaking down items and talking about the future and the past.
That is not rigid.
You
though.
want your chair ones talking about this, that, or the other. I want to talk about what I think is fun. And because of my, I suppose, offshoot, my uniqueness, my own take on what casting should be, I have been told that my ability to action feedback or receive it has been poor. So that is something I've worked on. I've worked on my ability to say okay in caster review, whether or not I decide to action it.
Okay, so that was not exactly what I asked.
He mentioned
And this
gold
must be
line.
what it's like to chair one for Bitflight. Am I right?
Yes. But that's a really rigid mindset to
That's
have,
true.
Agro.
That is true.
Having a
Yeah.
Too locked
play-by-play
in
and
your
an
way.
analyst is very
I won't do
rigid.
it. I won't do it.
You won't be shackled by the constraints of
That's
the
right.
casting system.
I got you with a quick, succinct answer.
Yeah, please hit me.
I talk too much. I need to stop doing that all the time.
There you go. Charlie, how about for you?
Yeah, similar to Miff, I suppose, in
That's
the sense
right.
of we both have this habit of when the gameplay gets slow, we like to just point out observations that are more chair one-y, but instead of Miff will say, "This is why that made sense during the time," and I'll be like, "Yep, good call. I'll work on that," and that's like the end of it. I do action it though. I think I've been pretty good about like, oh, I shouldn't just like point and
Small nod from Dave.
point and shoot things.
Small nod from
I
J-Mac.
really like testing with you.
I still have to work on it, of course, or I'm just like, oh, there's nothing going on. Let's take a look at that gold. And if I look at the gold, Dave does not like that. Not one bit.
Dave
not
hates
like
it
the
if you mention the gold unless you are about to
the
specifically
thing,
give a
so-
reason why
That's
you are
right.
mentioning the gold.
Because that's
Yeah.
Dave, you're stealing the words out of his mouth.
Right,
I have
exactly.
less to say.
Yeah,
So
he has
rigid.
very limited options as
Mm-hmm.
what he can say, and so you're taking it from him.
I have been working on that. Be like, you can tell the gold lead is massive because
Yeah,
that
this is
fight
good.
went this
That's
way.
right.
And
You're going to need to
that's what I've
change
been
your
doing.
question for Dave. Dave, how does it feel to be so flawless?
Well, that's not true.
Yeah, I can give you one, Dave, that you've had to work on. It's
Yeah.
being told what to work on.
Yeah.
That's
I'm,
Dave.
I
is,
spiral really quickly.
Yes.
Um,
Can I tell a quick anecdote about
Please.
one of our first caster reviews?
Please.
Dave had joined the team and like he said didn't have a ton of casting experience. Did a lot on Paladins, and we were working on Smite, and I was like, man, this guy is really, really good. We go to our first caster review, and I'm like, Dave, you did all of this perfectly. If you would have just given me this in this moment, it would have been I would have no notes for you for this section. And then Dave did not even hear me say you did all of this perfectly.
Nope.
He was like, God, I suck. And I was like,
It's
whoa,
still to
like,
this
where
day.
did that come from? And he was like, I'm so sorry, man. That is pathetic. How could I not do that? And I'm like, Dave, it's fine,
Yeah.
man. It's this one thing. And I was like, man, I got to be really careful about
It's
what
less extreme with him now, but he still has this
Yeah.
one. So like, we'll tell him he's doing really good at this to work on this. God, it's
so
that
I'll
again. And I
come off
gotta.
the cast. And,
Yeah.
and
You in commentary review are me normally. I will be actively in a cast, and I'll look at Trelly like,
Yep.
I just messed up. I'm awful. And it'll be like, what'd you do? Well, I like flopped 2 words slightly.
right.
and no one will ever
And
know.
like literally nobody else other than me noticed.
Nope.
Yeah, I think my quick answer, obviously receiving feedback and not immediately jumping to worst case scenario,
Polar
is super
opposites.
important. Right, and literal opposites, literal opposite humans. I think being more succinct is something that I've had to work on, where when I've been less confident in my game knowledge, I've had to wax poetic a bit until I find the actual thing that I want to be talking about.
Wandering.
And then eventually I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty good. I'm going to stop my sentence there. But if you listen to it back, I talk about like 6 separate things.
Right.
So I think that's been priority 1 for me over the last couple of years.
Good note, Gore. J-Mac, how about for you?
For me, there's been like 2 things I've been working on a lot since I've got here. The biggest one was volume control and tone in a cast, especially around team fights or build-ups to team fights, and then pacing as well. I mean, when I jumped in, I was mile a minute all the time. Everything's all action or everything's no action.
You were a Texas auctioneer, buddy.
Yeah.
You really were.
I brought my Texas readout. So those are like the 2 that I've really been working on and still continue to work on. And I think the one I work on that's the hardest for me now is my hyperfixation in a moment, where if I find something, I've got to get that point.
Yep.
I see it happening, and my mind will just immediately go say, hey, I'm talking about, crit in that last little team fight. What's going on? Why is there all this crit, and all of a sudden a team fight's about to kick off, and I go, oh, snap, there's a solo lane fight happening. Who cares about crit? We need to jump back here. So my current biggest problem is hyperfixation, but that's mental problem going through to help out on that. But
Sure.
That's a slow burn, but it's definitely one that's hit the most recent.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that every caster goes through is a phrase that I can't really use here on the broadcast, but a poop phrase. Poopy phrases.
Big stinker.
Filler phrases, if you will.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with poopy phrases.
Yeah, I
'cause
like
think
that
it's
one
funny.
better.
Everyone has them, these words or phrases that they will use overly so and then end up, chat
Have a
will
new
start
one every
memeing
week,
you.
dude.
It's how it goes. It's absolutely everyone does it. I remember when I first started, I would say yeah while Hindu was talking or while FDOT was talking to like affirm that I was listening all the time. And they started like yelling at me about it to the point where I told my girlfriend, now wife, to yell at me if you hear me say yeah in everyday conversation because I was using it so much. Like I literally removed it from my life temporarily because it was that bad because I was still doing it on cast. What are some you remember any poopy phrases, Dave, that you've had to eliminate?
Yeah, I went through a big Obama phase actually. And I nearly just did it there, where I've gotten better now. Where if I don't immediately have something to fill in, I'm okay with like a little pause and then get back to it. I went through a big, like I would draw out and then I would smack my lips a lot.
You always hit
let
him
me
with
be
the
clear.
yeah.
Right, a lot of
Let me be
and
clear.
ahs, but they were like a little bit more drawn out, and so I went through a big Obama-style speaking.
There are worse people to emulate. And
Sure,
Public speaking.
but when I'm doing it every other
No, you
sentence,
shouldn't
it's certainly
do
not
that.
a good habit. I think that early in Smite team fight casting, I would do a lot of every single kill was like drops this guy. Like this guy gets dropped, now they drop 2, now drops 3, and like that's fine to sprinkle in. And now I've gotten enough variety in my kill word that I can spread it out a bit, but for a little while there, drop was like the only word that I used for a kill.
Sure.
And that bothered me a lot. And I, thought I was the worst caster in the world and should just stop doing what I'm doing.
I'm surprised you didn't go for the one that was like to the point where we don't say it anymore. But when we all
Duress.
under duress,
Oh,
we
man,
said
that
like
was a rough
I
one.
think I said it once, and then like over the weekend I kept saying it,
Yep.
and then slowly I started hearing you saying it, and then you saying it, and like it got to the point where we're like we cannot. This word is like
That's banned
they
now
spread.
from the
chat
caster.
knows
They
it, like,
spread.
and even now if we say it, chat still memes it.
Even
Yep.
if it's once a weekend, right? We haven't
Like
used
force
it in
the
months.
issue. You can't say that without thinking it's holy,
Still
dude.
can't.
Yeah.
Still can't.
We're
still
switching
can't use
under
it.
us for sure.
That's totally classic.
Stuff after the stuff used to be a big one.
That was I mean,
around
that's
too.
just iconic, though.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
is-
wasn't
that
even-
is one.
I won't even count that one. That's the stuff right
Yeah.
there. The stuff after the stuff.
Right.
Gore, how about for you?
Either under duress. Unfortunately, it was and obviously I did a lot when I was first learning.
Yeah.
And Hindu at one point he was like, "Dude, no, don't
Yeah.
say like you make people feel stupid if they don't know what you're saying,
Can't say obviously.
and if they do know what you're saying, then yeah, they obviously already know it. So shut up."
Right. Charlie?
Yeah, I've got this habit that I've picked up on that I end a lot of my analysis on, and I have to imagine, I'll be like,
Yeah.
there's a beautiful team fight, and you have to imagine they want to go for the pyromancer after, and then I'll just drop that point, then I'll come back to being like, yeah, you're right, and then there's a good ultimate, and you have to imagine the beads are down. I'm like, why did I say that twice? And I'll pick up on it. So that's my newest one that it goes off in my head every time I say it. I'm like, I need to stop saying this so much.
That is it. They always get replaced.
Yep.
You never get rid of them fully. Miff?
When I first started, I would always pick up the cast. So my chair one's done talking, I'd say absolutely. Absolutely going to my point. Absolutely this, that, or the other.
I remember that.
But I don't think that poop phrases are things that I've necessarily struggled with the most. But when I have noticed them, I try to own it a little bit. So when you guys, I remember you explicitly cut out duress, I would drop 1 per cast no matter what. No matter what, I dropped 1 duress per cast no matter what. Because I want to own it. Another one maybe I overuse, but it's just a part of my diction, and it's a word that I happen to enjoy, is expeditiously.
Expeditiously
When
is a good
something
word.
happens quickly. I understand that I say it, and for those keen-eyed fans out there that watch everything, they'll hear me say it frequently. I'm going to drop one anyway, and I'm not going to apologize.
I like
You just like the word. It's
well, big words like that are fun, like superfluous. It's just fun to say.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. J-Mac?
So when I first got here, I did a lot of desk work with you specifically. You were obviously doing a lot of the tier 2 with me, and one of the ones that you caught me on, in fact, you were actually keeping a WordPad open on your laptop to tick every time I did it, was onto or on this, on that.
Yep.
And it was in the middle of we got off a desk. You jumped off and you said, so how many times do you think you said onto that time? I said, oh, probably like 3 or 4. And you went, 14. And I went, oh, okay, something's got to change. So when I first started, that was my big one. One of my recent ones that I noticed was seems like. So we'll get to something, a team fight ends. It says, it seems like this team's going to now move over towards the fire giant. When I'm literally looking at the screen and they're walking there, it's not a seems, it's they're going to the fire giant. So
Can I recommend Have to Imagine?
that's a good one.
I've heard that's a
good one.
That people might want to use.
That's a good one.
know?
That's seems like.
We should really start using this phrase like when someone's getting pressured, they're like under duress, making their
That's a
decisions.
good idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
You can't take that
one
from
of
me.
the
That's fine.
most universal poop phrases that people use is now you can see,
Oh,
we see,
yes.
like it's telling the viewers what we all see.
Yep.
And I think I'll speak for myself, but I think most casters have gone like when they're first starting. It's you can see this player moving over here now. This now you can see and it's describing what we can see, but telling them that they're seeing it.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty universal experience for a lot of people.
Yes, that is something that I was certainly very guilty of, and is still one of my biggest pet peeves. Is hearing. Now that my eyes are open, I can see that this is happening.
Right.
It's like you don't need to say it.
Right, thank you.
You know, like we know. Speaking of casting pet peeves, what are some moments in games where anytime something like this happens, you're like, oh, here we go again. You know, like I don't want to have to mess with this. Miff, you look ready. Oh, Dave, did you want to?
We all have.
Are you
like
ready,
12,
Miff, or-
I'm sure.
Yeah, I can
Okay,
go
go
straight
ahead.
into it. There are a ton of things I hate when I'm casting.
Let's stick with 1 to 2.
All right. Thing number 1, distinctly European-paced games. I can't stand it.
You could just say slow paced. You know, you don't have to assign it.
Because we know where it's from.
Okay.
If there are no kills at 15 minutes, and then the first kill happens at 15 and they lose the game off of it and throw up their hands like, oh man, what's happened? It's because you AFK'd for 15 minutes. Hate that.
You and I get in trouble with those games sometimes in the sense that if it's 30 minutes in, there's 1 or 2 kills.
We're talking about anything
We're
else.
talking about literally anything else.
And you know what? We're right to do it because they're boring.
I do
Because you
agree with that,
value
to some degree.
entertainment.
I value entertainment over
Over
all else. And there are
style.
people in chat who say, man, wish they were talking about that gold camp that just went down. No, you're an idiot. I'm going to talk about the anime I watched last weekend. Outside of that, I really don't like when it is a miracle comeback in a game 2 and a best of 3.
Yes.
Because then I know we're going to game 3, and you've just delayed my day by an hour and a half, potentially more, and you're going to lose anyway.
Yeah.
If you win
that
game
is the worst.
1, or if you lose game 1, win game 2,
you have to win the set.
game
You
3.
have to win.
That is the John Finch special. That is
true.
his take holistically. I didn't even think about it before he brought it up, but once he did, I was like, you're right.
He would get so mad. He would literally
He'd
be
get so mad.
like offended. He'd be like, "Why would they win? Game why would they win game 2 if they didn't feel like winning a
His eyes
set?"
would bug out. It was-
Especially if they like
Love that
into the
guy.
draft game
Oh,
3,
man.
or if they into
Yup.
the game like just a fury with
you took me to game 3 to lock in Anubis for once. For once.
People realize, even if it's an average 30-minute game,
Yeah.
30-minute game plus 10, 15-minute desk at the beginning, 10, 15-minute at the end,
It's
5,
the
10 minutes of
principle of
breaks.
it, you know?
It's a principle, and
If it
extends.
happens 3 to 4 times a year, it's not a big
Yeah,
deal.
no,
When
of
it
course
happens
not.
to you for your 25th time,
right in a row
in the
that
week,
week.
you
Phase
just
3,
can't.
week 5, day 6, you know.
Yeah.
like,
I
You're-
think
you're
my
struggling.
casting pet peeve is late in the game. We've juggled around the fire giant for a while. A team secures it, and then immediately somebody gets picked because you know that the next 3 minutes of that fire giant are just done. And we're
Yep.
sitting for 3 minutes
Yep.
until the next fire giant spawns. When a team can't just get one 5-man push with FG and attempt, they lose a buff or 2 right off the bat, and you just know the next 3 minutes are resetting. that's a mental crusher when
Yeah.
when I know I'm watching nothing for 3 minutes.
Yep. That's a good one. J-Mac?
I think for me, it's a lot of the siege defenses when we have 15 minutes of siege defense because one team just does not know how to end the game.
Yep.
That's probably my biggest one because, like, oh, man, we're at the Phoenix for the 4th time in 15 minutes now. This is their 3rd fire giant that they've gotten in that time, and they still haven't taken a single bird despite them having a 15,000 gold lead. For me, it's when those teams are so far up and they should just win the game by 25 minutes, and now we're sitting at 38 and they're going to lose because they could never siege a Phoenix.
Yes, those are tough. The slow
Do
burns.
something.
Yeah, they literally please do anything because you are just so far ahead. You should be winning.
Especially when they siege and fail, and then they go back and they just try the same siege.
Yep.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
they don't
Nothing
split.
different.
When you
Literally
have
They
their
don't
try.
swap their. If they did split the first time, it'll work this time. You know what I mean?
I used to call
Yeah.
like the kryptonite phoenixes. That's the one phoenix that they cannot siege. They've successfully taken left or mid. They just can't get that solo side phoenix, and they keep going back. So like, just get away from your kryptonite.
Just leave it. Yeah, exactly. Gore?
On what you had said, what you had said, but not quite reverse. But when you have a team, and we've had this happen a lot in the SEC, where it's like first versus last. This should be 2 20-minute games in and out. You should win. And then the first game, your first seed team locks in a bunch of goofy stuff. And then troll the hell out of the game. They lose game 1, but they take 40 minutes to do it because they're still better mechanically.
Yeah, because 20 minutes in, they realize, oh, wait, we might lose.
We might lose. And so
then
they buckle down.
They grind the game to a halt.
And then they lose it. And then in game 2, they stomp, and then game 3 they stomp, and it's like, okay, then why did you waste 40 minutes of everyone's time, including your own? It's not just mine; it's yours too. Playing a nothing game.
Yeah, those are some of the worst.
That's less fun, you know. Trelly?
Yeah, I gotta echo what Dave was saying. I mean, it's the fire giant dance into okay, we finally did it. We walk up, you attempt to siege, your tank walks in, immediately dies. They reset and they go, well, now what? And then they sit around, they do nothing because there's nothing to do. You maybe go for one more push, but it's always a soft push. You never commit. Back to Fire Giant. They're going to do it again. And then to what you said, they don't go, that didn't work. Maybe we should 3-2 it. We 4-1, 1-3-1. There's so many different ways to siege a Phoenix.
What if we went 5-on-5?
Like, what if we just
again
run it down again?
We gave them bombs, man. Figure it out.
There are runic bombs in place now. Pyromancer's up. They're like, let's just give it one more honest
one
try.
more honest try.
That bugs me to no end because it's not even like the correct play, right? Like, I don't care about my time in this instance. It's just like you're supposed to be the best. You want to get better. This is just insanity, doing the same siege
selfish.
over and over.
I do care about my time in that moment.
And
I
that's
also realize build up into nothing when like a team is going in, and like I understand it from the gameplay perspective, but when it like feels like you're building up this moment, they're finally going to go in, they miss their engage, immediately fall back, and you get a full reset for like 5 minutes, and you're like,
Yep.
I think
like steam out of your nose, like
3-0 Smite World Championship Grand Finals are my pet peeve at this point.
You've had a few of those.
Yeah,
That's
fair.
That's my
how many makes a hobby, huh?
Yeah.
Another 1 or 2.
Got one more in you.
Yeah, I think that certainly might be the case. That will be very funny if that happens. I'm sorry. I will laugh and I will feel bad simultaneously for you. Dude, there's so many questions I wanted to ask, but you guys all
We
talk
can be quick.
so well.
We can be quick.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
We can lightning round.
Okay,
Rapid
fine.
fire, yell at us
Lightning
if we
round.
go too long.
Okay, fine. I want you to describe each other's casting style. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun for me. Gore, you describe Dave's.
Excited.
Okay, Dave, you describe J-Max.
Well, am I allowed to use excited again? Excited, but intentional, analytical in his mindset. Always has that extra bit of game knowledge behind his excitement.
Is that in words,
Okay,
dude?
J-Mac, why don't you analyze Trelly's?
Trully is an analytical caster, but always adds that extra little bit of splash of fun just to keep the spice going.
Trelly, why don't you? I'll give Miff the softball here, and you can do Miff.
Oh, that's great. I think Miff, you can tell he's an entertainer above all. He's, of course, tries to always drive it back to the analytics, but he prefers to keep it lighthearted and fun.
Okay, and Miff for Gore.
Gore, you're
You can say bad.
stats-based, but I've noticed that I think fun might be the descriptor for you because you, more than anyone else, you allow your own personal fun to affect how you cast.
Yeah.
Like when you say
Oh
something
yeah, if
and
I'm
you
bored,
like it,
you know it.
if you say something you like it though, you will yuck up into the mic for like 10 seconds. Just that was a good one. I'm like, yeah.
There is not a person on this team who laughs more in a cast than Gore does. And I actually really love that.
By far.
I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that is. I would definitely agree with that. Okay, we got about 5 minutes left. Your favorite game or moment that you can remember being a part of on the casting squad, Miff? You want to start?
Oh, nice. That last bit changed it a little bit.
Yeah.
On the casting squad.
Yeah, on the casting squad.
It might be recency bias. It might be just because it's the highest stakes things I've done. But casting finals with Dave. Dave decided that he was going to rip off his belt, which was unplanned. Or maybe this is when it was the suspenders that you throw in the crowd.
Both at different points.
But you had placed it into a little pouch. I remember he's, Mifflin, do you think this is going to hold the suspenders in the pouch? Like, nobody's going to get hurt, right? Throws it, immediately exits the pouch. There's metal flying to the sky and a group of people. And live on air, he lets a loud expletive slip. during
OS.
Yeah.
Live.
And I'm thinking to myself, yes, this is good.
Yeah, this is what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
That moment. That's a good one. J-Mac, how about for you?
This is actually a bit of an older one. It's actually a cast I did with Miff in season 8. It was my first Worlds. I actually got to do more than just like cast collegiate or anything. So it was my first Worlds event. We were casting Leviathans and Bolts together, and I actually got to bring out an old reference. I immediately already forgot the name of the YouTube channel we were just talking about the other day. But he said that, man, Jake's out here getting mugged on the battleground. I just let out maybe he should establish risk control.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, I don't know why, but that was just
Yeah.
such a funny moment to me that stuck with me. And it's been one of my favorite just like random references I've gotten to throw into a cast.
I remember saying he got mugged. I remember that
did
for
say
sure.
that.
Oh, you remember the thing that was about you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a narcissist. I've never said I wasn't.
I mean, just in general, I guess the cop-out answer is the fun times where I get to inject like little references that probably not a lot of people understand because they're older, and that's just because I'm older at this point. So
Sure.
We also have a pretty old viewer base too.
we do. They're
Not
getting around our age.
There's
now.
some Zoomers out there. That's just how it be.
Yo, what up?
Dave?
Fun answers are who farted. A
coleslaw.
classic.
One of the greatest
Classic. One of the greatest moments of all
Banger.
time. Coleslaw with Miff because I finally boomed him live on air.
That was so
We've
good.
had some good breakdown crying moments.
The tier 2 Hydras is a really good one
that was
between
really
you and
I
I.
got one of
The
the
Hun Bots impression. That's
Oh,
a pretty
that
good
was
one.
really
Yeah.
good.
Bats is into the Erlang Shen impression. That's
Yep.
some of our best work.
That was
so those are
really
some of my
good.
favorite silly moments. Deathwalker, 4-man fearless, about as cool as it gets for me. I had a lot of fun with Pagon and Bera at this past Worlds. Obviously, being with fans for the first time in my Smite career was really cool.
Yeah.
And so they had some really amazing moments. Pagon with a quad. Bera had some ridiculous Danza moments that I really remember. So
Yeah.
a mix of both.
I need to watch that Who Farted clip.
It's so
totally-
good. I have it downloaded
It's
somewhere.
a
Please send
YouTube
it to
short. It keeps showing up for me. It gets recommended. It just
Really?
says, you know
Oh,
what
we got to the shorts?
It says, you know what hooves stand for? I'm like, oh, what's this all about? And I watch it all the time. I forget.
I really link that to me
It's
next time
good.
it's up because I want to watch that.
That
That's
was
hilarious.
me and you, right?
Well, Aggro,
No,
the
Aggro
original
invented
Who
it.
Farted.
Yeah.
And then we started the Humpty Dumpty thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was the best
Yeah.
cry. We
'Cause you
cried
said-
for 5 minutes. They had to extend the death segment so we
actually-
could talk about it.
That actually reminded me of one. I looked at Charlie and I immediately remembered
That's
it
the one
was.
I was gonna
Oh,
say.
okay, I'll let
Yeah,
Charlie say
Yeah.
it then.
So, I mean, obviously, to get the hype ones out of the way, the Bera moment at Worlds with me and Dave was pretty hype, where he was like, just the bolts were out of the game entirely, but he flies in. I see Dave. He starts jumping up.
I'm a big baby.
He was his knees were over my head. He's just going Bera, 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 because we were told our reactions might get in. They didn't use that, unfortunately.
Criminal.
So Dave worked up a sweat. Then the other one, we're
Always.
casting what? An SCC qualifier. Like,
It's like 10 o'clock
The SCC teams are trying to get to Masters. It's 11 o'clock at night. We've been here since 10.
Real
and
high
me and
res
J-Mac
hours.
are on like a 5-game set, and they lock in Ymir. And I just said, yeah, it's a good pick here. They locked in Weimer, and J-Mac just looks at me and goes, Weimer? He made me cry for 5 minutes. Didn't say a word.
Dude,
I was at home, surely.
Yeah, we were out. We were gone.
Instead of Ymir, I just said Weimer, and J-Mac could not. He's like,
That is so
J-Mac
funny.
couldn't work.
him
Look at him. Bro, we were there for 8 hours, and he's like, I'm sorry, you got me with Weimer. It's an 11-year joke.
I said that when I was 13.
Good stuff. I love that. Or you finish us off.
Yeah, hype ones. The semifinal that me and you cast, I think, was season 7. That was I remember thinking I could share one next year.
Yeah,
like
that was
I
the
heard,
cast.
like I did that, and I was like, damn, that was good. Casting finals with Dave on Paladins is like
What a dream.
top 10 moments of life, probably.
Yeah, agreed.
This
And
guy
then
got
fun
married.
ones. Yeah,
top
I said
10.
top 10.
Nice.
Married's up there.
Like top 4.
Yeah. And then funny moments is literally anytime Mifflin gets tilted because his reactions just make me laugh.
yeah.
Like I've been told by Hindu, he's like, you can't laugh as loudly at those moments because it's like you're making them feel bad. Like Miff's already tearing into him. You can't laugh at him with him. And I was like, damn, but it's so funny.
Those are big cascade moments. Miff will
Yes.
get tilted, and then
You
go
went
off
in
the
and you
rails.
didn't hit any
There
of
is
then-
a clear
and then I'll
line where
get
I'm like,
tilted.
I'm letting it go now.
But then
I'll hold
I
it back
get
most of the time.
tilted,
Right.
and then my
then it's
mood
game over.
trickles out into everyone. It's
Getting into a mood is contagious.
right.
When
around
those
here
happen,
for
I
sure.
have to take an extra like 2 beats after Miff is done to like recuperate and go, okay, let's reset the momentum here.
I have to reset my momentum because I looked in J-Mac's eyes and there were tears in there. I remember it was from Weimer.
Weimer, dude.
Weimer, did you watch this? Who knows? But hopefully you enjoyed
Be
it. That
careful.
one's-
You're going to
that
get him
one's-
again. Oh, there he goes.
That one's for Dave. We've got to go so J-Mac can recuperate after that. But hope you enjoy the Caster Roundtable. Enjoy Smite the Dev. It's coming up right next.